We are back for season 9. We got some creative counting going on, but we are starting with the start of the Browns. We took the summer off. We did not want to talk about QB1 in the Browns locker room, or not in the Browns locker room, Deshaun Watson. But I guess we got to start there. Eric, Drew, good to see you guys.
Good seeing
Likewise.
you.
Man, what do you make of this summer? We've had conversations. We've seen the ruling come down on Deshaun. So, Drew, let me go to you first here. Just how do you walk away? How do you look at the season, and just how we really haven't talked about Deshaun Watson in a while?
Yeah, like maybe ever. Mostly on purpose because it's sort of borderline makes your skin crawl to talk about some of the things that he did or is accused of doing. I got to be honest with everybody out here. This has been, in my opinion, the hardest off season to just sort of process and deal with. I'm not saying worst. I'm saying most challenging, like emotional off season since 1996, when we were like 12 or 13 years old, like when we were going through this, like everybody else out there. Like, it's been that long since this team has asked you to just stomach and deal with something that like no fan base wants to deal with. And I'm talking about all the stuff around the player. I'm not talking about the player that they acquired. I'm talking about all the nonsense, all the misery that this sort of decision has put this fan base through. I have a hard time like finding the love that I had for this team the last, I don't know, 20 plus years or so. That's just me being honest as a fan. I'm having a really hard time compartmentalizing this particular player, just some of the things that he's been accused of doing. And like, you can call me like, okay, well, what about some of the other players that have come through in the past? And in every other instance, it's been one sort of case of, in the moment, emotions got the better of somebody. Not excusing any of that, but you could say, look, this was a one-time thing. This was not a one-time sort of a deal at all, right? And I'm not going to get into the specifics because nobody wants to hear it. I'm not going to change anybody's opinion on this guy. Everybody's got their line in the sand. This is just where I'm coming from a fan. I have a really hard time supporting this man as the quarterback. I'm still a fan of this team, still going to root for them to win every game, still want them to beat Carolina despite who that quarterback is, a guy that I do really like a lot. But I am having a really hard time coming to grips with the reality of the team now with the current the soon to be, or maybe not so soon to be, QB1 come week 12 or whatever it is of this season. I'm going to be sort of torn on how I can support this man. Eventually, I think I will come around, like a lot of people do to this sort of thing, but it's going to take me some time before I'm back to the same type of fan that I've been for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think that coming up here, a game against the Panthers, it was sad to see Baker go. I think we remember a little bit of the turmoil, and now Baker coming back. I think news came out today that he is trying to make a point in this upcoming game. He's going to want to do the same thing that he did to Hugh Jackson on the sidelines. And Eric, can you move forward to look at this next game? I think we at least got the ruling, so there's in some way, and Deshaun has made settlements on a lot of these cases, so there's somewhat a moving forward, but it's challenging.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that part of the process, I guess, is closed, but you're still in that window of, today was his first day of suspension through December 4th. His first game, provided he does all the necessary requirements. I believe he can join the facilities, I believe, in early October and start practicing in early November. But I just think it's going to be one stage after the next until he gets back on the field. Looking at this from me, my perspective was, I believe I could be off a day or two, but I believe March 18th, the trade was announced, and around August 18th, the final suspension was announced. So Browns fans were in limbo for 5 months. And to Drew's point, it was pretty stressful. It was pretty rough. And unfortunately, I felt a lot of the Browns fans were being attacked by national media for supporting their team. It's one thing to go after Haslam. It's one thing to go after Andrew Berry. It's one thing to go after the front office organization. But to go after the fans who are just sitting on their couch like you or me, I feel that's kind of silly. But that's another story for another day. I mean, I like to what Drew had said. I would have been fine with keeping Baker Mayfield, but I feel like there was a locker room divided. The front office didn't see a long-term future in him. I would have liked to have him play out his 5th-year deal, but they didn't see the same thing. So obviously they went a different direction. I would have been fine trading for Jimmy Garoppolo. Again, maybe they didn't see the value in him that I did. So, and obviously with the news yesterday, him restructuring his contract, he's still part of the 49ers. Again, I also don't condone any wrongdoing. I am a Browns fan. I want any player on the Browns to do well. So whenever Watson does play, I want him to succeed. But, right now I'm exhausted, and, being an Ohio State fan, I'm used to other fan bases hating my team, but I'm not used to slurs and very, very vulgar language being hurled towards an individual player. So that's going to be an interesting dichotomy, I guess, we're going to start seeing later this year. But so, yeah, it's a very touchy subject. Like I said, it's still a Browns fan, still want the team to do well. What's done is done. I hope Jacoby Brissett has the best 11 games of his career, and we move forward. And the Browns surprise people, but it's been a tough 5+ months as a Browns fan. I know there are other fan bases and other situations, but just sitting here being a Browns fan, it's been pretty tough.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, where does it go from here? Because I think there's been some improvements, some missteps. Deshaun, making some concessions of, trying to go through therapy and half apologies, but then following up and really saying that he wasn't at fault. So he is in a difficult place because he can't, just talk about his guilt, and has to dance around all these things. But it's difficult. You wonder, where does he go from here? We saw Josh Gordon was released by the Chiefs today. Is this a continuing problem? Like, it isn't going to be, it's not guaranteed that he's going to recover from this. Is this something that continues to follow him throughout his career? Or he becomes someone like Ray Lewis, who had legal challenges in the past and so bettered himself into the future, and really left that past behind him. So it'll be interesting to see what Deshaun does. It certainly isn't clear that he is making improvements yet, but only time will tell about what comes next.
It's sort of telling that we're saying maybe he gets to the level of Ray Lewis. Like, that is best case scenario. He becomes the guy that we call a murderer. Like, that is scary to think about. I don't know. I don't know how do we move forward with this guy as our quarterback? I can't answer.
But Ray,
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. But that's not what I think of when I think of that guy. And that's not going to be what anybody else thinks of when they think of Deshaun Watson.
Right.
And there will be a group of people that always connect this to Deshaun Watson, and that's not going to change.